What's going on, YouTube? Thanks for joining me here on my channel. Steven Sturgis will be your host for the next few minutes. Let's get into it, guys. By the way, I hope you're all having a fantastic Happy New Year. It's 13th of January. We are in 2020. Sounds weird to say that, but it's true. Zaharoff, signature pour homme, for man. How good is it? Morning, Rich. At this line for quite a while, and I've been hesitant, at least initially. Thank you, Rich, to pull the trigger because, well, for one thing, it's for me a very unknown house. It's somewhat of an unknown commodity. I mean, it's known within Fracom to an extent, but it's a newcomer. Let's get real. Very, very new on the scene. Mainly only carried through Nordstrom's, as far as I know. If I'm wrong on that, apologies to all. I have read and heard that the perfumer, the leader of the house, the owner, the nose, etc., is somewhat famous on YouTube, believe it or not, and also a very nuanced creator, intensely concerned about his blends, the quality, the smell. He's said to be very artistic. Again, just deeply concerned with quality controls, appearance, just very involved at all levels. So that's really refreshing and positive to hear when a nose has that much effective control on the actual product that hits the market. That's a really, really usually a very, very good thing indeed. So let's just skip ahead to the notes. Oh, before I mention that, one of the other reasons I was hesitant was the fact that I think, at least initially, maybe it was only available in the 4-ounce size for $195, something like that. I think has that dropped at all? Let me check. Yeah, I think they dropped that initially. That may have been the older Zaharoff that I'm thinking of, the gold bottle, when it first debuted. At any rate, you can get signature. What they've done, guys, is very, very smart. They're offering 2 sizes, which I think is genius. You can get a 2-ounce, which will last you quite a while, especially if you have a large catalog, a library of colognes and perfumes and whatnot to work through. You can get the 2-ounce for $95, which is really, really, really not that bad for what you're getting at all. In fact, it's on the cheap side compared to a lot of other, let us say, higher end designer house offerings. But just as importantly, you can get the very, very large indeed 4-ounce. What is that? 125 mils, I believe, for $155. So that's a lot of juice. Really, really placing you at the discount region of Parfums de Marly. Not all of their offerings, by the way. Several of them have still not come below 200 to 225, even for the newer stuff. And some of the really, really new stuff's not available at all on the designer websites. So if you're going to buy this in the 4-ounce, keep in mind it's kind of going to be, well, either I can get the Zaharoff Signature Pour Homme 4-ounce bottle, or I can get several of the Parfums de Marly slightly older offerings, albeit on the discounter websites, like Fragrance Net, Fragrance X, Latino, Beauty something, Supply, I forget all the names. Anyways, so on and so forth. Also, perfume.net or .com. Either of those, both of those. But let's get into the notes, guys, and then I'll share some of my thoughts. So if you go to Fragrantica, this is listed as balsamic, aromatic, fresh, spicy, smoky, and woody. Claude Dier is the nose, and I believe he's the director of the whole house. I could be wrong on that, but if not, he's intimately associated with Zaharoff for sure. Agarwood, oud, patchouli, sandalwood. I think those are that completes the top. And then the mids, you're going to get Bulgarian rose, incense, myrrh, and jasmine. And then I think into the base, you're going to get vetiver, vanilla, lavender, black pepper, and cypress. But it's not clear about that, so that's just my own assumption. Let me head on over to base notes. Is there any? Yeah, okay, they've got the clear distinction here. Also, make sure I've got the right thing queued up here. Let's see. Signature per ohm, yes. Yes, okay. What's going on? Okay, they've got some distinct differences, guys. This is curious. What's one of the reasons I like to check both websites. So if you go to base notes, they have an not entirely, but very, very different listing for the notes. So let's get into their version. I think maybe theirs is going to be much closer to what I'm smelling here. Yeah, I think this is going to be the accurate one. So apologies to Fragrantica guys. You need to fix your notes list. It is absolutely incorrect and at least incomplete. Okay, here we go, guys. Top notes: cardamom, lavender, black pepper, pear, blue cypress. Into the heart: ginger root, Virginia cedar, Indonesian oud, Florentine iris, pimento leaf, and fir balsam. And the base: Australian sandalwood, Indonesian patchouli, black ember, myrrh, and finally frankincense. Guys, that is a lot of awesome, awesome notes. And I'm going to tell you right now that, well, the scent is really, really lovely, and it's expertly blended. You do get most of those notes at some point in the journey. But they're blended so well together that to some extent, it creates, in places, a sort of unified matrix mesh that isn't that easy to pick apart as far as some of those individual notes. But I would definitely say you can kind of smell aspects of those notes. So there's like a nice woody base with an emphasis. When I say wood, hi Daniel, happy New Year's, guys. That wood does have essence of a little hint of fir balsam and cedar. And I would say the pear, in the opening, the pear creates this strangely grapefruit-like accord or note, which on the one hand, as it opens, it blooms very sweet, fairly intense, semi-oriental, almost like a very, very intensely aromatic fougere. And my one tiny, maybe my two tiny complaints in the opening, if I'm being totally honest, are that it's a bit sweet for my taste. That sweetness forms an accord that kind of overpowers the opening to some extent, not totally. And I would have liked a little more oud. The oud in here is like kind of slightly clean rubber type. If you smell a lot of ouds, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's not bad. It's just a bit clinical, and it's quite mild. It's definitely not on the animalic fecal side, which is going to be a win-win for a lot of you guys out there and gals. But if you're looking for the heavier, darker, more pungent, more shitty smelling oud, no pun intended, this is definitely not going to fill or tick off that checkbox. However, it's a very elegant vibe that this sets. It has a very elegant sort of smell to the blend. It smells very highbrow, again, very elegant, sensual, masculine, classy, classic. At the same time, it's a very modern interpretation. This is not your granddaddy's cologne or perfume. If they had something that even had remotely, let's say, the majority of these ingredients, minus the oud. I don't think that was known in the West back then. It still wouldn't smell anything like this because the blend is done with such a modern sensibility. Let's get in. What else do I smell in terms of the myrrh and the frankincense and the amber, guys? It's just they're dialed fairly deep down into the base. You do get hints of those. And they do add a creamy, slightly sweet, ambery, along with that ginger root, but it's very, very subtle. I would have loved this. This would be an absolute home run if George Zaharoff, who's the creative director, and Claude Deer, again the perfumer, if they had just said, "Well, I love it, I love it, I love it, but let's amp it up. Let's make these powerful elements, kind of just the focal point of the blend. Let's just amp it up." I would have jazzed up the black pepper, the cedar wood, the oud for sure, probably the fir balsam and the iris a little bit more, ginger root a tad more, cardamom a tad more. I definitely would have amped up the myrrh and frankincense and the sandalwood, but truly I'm not sure if I would have amped that up or not. Maybe, maybe not. Black amber, just a tiny bit. I think sometimes amber can really overpower a fragrance, but all in all, that's just my personal opinion. I tend to gravitate towards louder, stronger, richer scents, but this has all of those components in it. But I would say it's, and I don't mean this in any kind of derisive way, I do think this is office friendly. But at the same time, I do find this to be probably a very versatile. Oh, by the way, I apologize. I never showed the sample. I don't want you guys to think I'm just reading off the net. This is the sample that I got, I believe for free, or maybe I paid like shipping or something. I think I got the whole thing for free, and I actually got 2 of them. So this is one of them. That's what's left of this one, and I've used it at least two or three times thus far. And you get a picture of the bottle right there. You can go online, certainly look at it, but that's what it looks like, and that's kind of the branding look, if you will. Very elegant, very chic and slick. I don't know why this is selling so expensively online through third-party vendors. I guess people are just idiots, but you can just head right on over to Nordstrom's, and like I said, you can buy a 4-ouncer for $155 or the 2-ouncer for $95, which I think is really a steal. It's a lovely aroma. I wish personally it was amped up a bit more, quite a bit more for my personal taste, but I think for the majority of you guys out there, this is probably going to hit y'all's sweet spot. And I do think overall it's a really, really delightful, expertly blended concoction that very favorably competes with heavyweight, big banger design houses and designer offerings that I would say veer into the luxe or luxury segment, designer niche, designer luxe, however you want to call those sort of upper shelf, top drawer, top shelf type offerings. Think Armani Privé, think Tom Ford, anything Tom Ford, especially. And this is not quite, I want to make this crystal clear, guys. This is not quite on TF level. It's not. It is close. So bravo, kudos to getting close to actual Tom Ford levels of quality. Not quite there in truth. You can smell that while this is a very well done blend with fairly top shelf ingredients, they're definitely not on the same tier, either in ingredient sourcing, nor especially concentration of TF and all that house represents. But this is at least as good as Dunhill's better offerings, and quite possibly slightly superior, just to give you a mental picture of where this kind of slots in. This would easily compete with most of Armani's base offerings. easily probably better than most of Calvin Klein's, and so on and so forth. This is probably more on the level of an Acqua di Parma or a Versace, or even a, to some extent, a Terre d'Hermes. Maybe not quite as. I don't think it has quite the projection or staying power that a really good Terre d'Hermes has, but it's close. So I think, what they've achieved here is fairly staggering, honestly. Callie, nice to see you here in my live stream. And Fragrance Journey. Yeah, as I want to reiterate, guys, my little bitty jabs at this fragrance are in no way meant as any kind of put down. I'm not being derisive or disrespectful at all. I like it, and I like it quite a bit, and I can easily recommend this scent. Where did I put my little bottle? Again, that's the sample that I got for free offline. I got 2 of them, by the way, and again, that's what's left of this. Now, I already have the dry down on this hand, so I'm going to spray a little bit, just to get that opening. No, I want to make it clear, Fragrance Journey, that I like this a lot, but it's not quite a love, if that makes any kind of sense. It's a strong like, for sure, no doubt. I tend to gravitate rather towards very strong powerhouse scents, fairly top tier stuff. Not to sound stuck up, but this is really, really delightful. It's a beautifully, expertly crafted blend. The blue cypress and the pear in the opening, guys, if that would just stick around through the entire journey, with again, I would have amped up the pepper, the cardamom, definitely the cedar, the myrrh and the frankincense a bit. I would have elevated the iris a bit. And maybe, I forget if there's oud in here. I think there is, but if there's not, I would have thrown in a little bit more oud. I think there's oud. Isn't there oud in here, guys? Help me out here. Let's see. Okay, oud is listed at the Fragrantica website. And what did base notes say? Yes, Indonesian oud. The pimento leaf and the fir balsam also, I would have just pretty much amped up everything, but it's a lovely, lovely fragrance. I do wish the sandalwood was a little bit more prominent, but I think it'd be fair to say, again, this is early upon application. I think it's a no-brainer that deep into the dry down, guys, the base is going to come out more, and the top is going to all but disappear. That's just how fragrances work. So take it from me, the sandalwood, the patch, and the amber and the myrrh frankincense, it will absolutely come into the dry down. But again, I still would have amped everything up. But this is a lovely concoction for sure. And it's an absolute full-on recommended buy. I want to make that crystal clear. Even though this isn't a total head over heels in love for me, it may absolutely be for you guys. And again, even for me, it's a very strong like indeed. And I also think this is a perfect banger for the fall and the winter, and really any time of the year for that matter. It's light enough, I think, to be worn in the winter and the spring, as long as you don't go cray on the trigger spray. Again, I spray heavy anyway. That's me, and my skin can usually get away with it. But I don't think this is one that requires you to spray a gazillion blasts to get a nice sillage and projection. I think this is one that you really, really could realistically, real world, get away with about 3 to 5 sprays. And if you're someone that just goes with 2, that's fine. Maybe you're more discreet than I am. Maybe it just works better on your skin. I don't know. But for me, about 4 to 5 is the minimum that I can get away with in most cases, unless the fragrance is just ballistically powerful. And if that's the case, sometimes I can't even get away with 3. So 2 probably tops for those seriously nuclear powerful type fragrances. But this is a beautiful recipe for sure. Hats off to Claude Durr and George Zaharoff. It is sexy. It's sophisticated. It's a bit ethereal in a weird way at the same time, whilst at the same times remaining earthy, It's just sublime, basically, guys. It's not perfect. Again, I think I highlighted some of those subtle drawbacks, and I also do wish that, well, anyways, I've said enough. It's an excellent fragrance. I'm just rambling at this point. Get your hands on it. Again, guys, for the love of God, do not buy a bottle from a third party online for $260. What an absolute ridiculous waste. Unless for whatever reason Nordstrom's won't ship overseas, then I guess you have no choice. But short of that, find a way to get it through Nordstrom's. Again, you can get the 2-ounce bottle for $95. You can get the 4-ounce bottle, which I think translates to 125 mils, for $155. Again, very, very extremely reasonable pricing for what you're getting. By the way, the bottle I think is quite lovely. It just screams top shelf luxury. I like the branding. I like the Z for Zaharoff. I love the bottle cap, the way it's a square. So yeah, I think I'll go ahead and pull the trigger on this. And yeah, this is a no-brainer, guys. So that's going to conclude my personal take on this scent. If you haven't got it, at least get a sample and probably just pull the trigger. I'm going to read a few more comments out. Russell A. Hi, Russ. Says it's a great fragrance, especially for the office. Callie says it's very versatile. I totally agree. Yes, there's oud. I agree. Okay. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining my live stream. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to go ahead and tick those out immediately. I'll try to answer them in queue. If not, we'll wrap. And guys out there, whoever's watching hasn't commented, if you like my channel, like what I do, like my reviews, please subscribe and click the bell, or you will not get the critical update when I drop new material. Thank you, Danny. Later, Gator, indeed. Happy New Year, guys. Well, that's going to do it. Again, I hope everyone's having a fantastic Happy New Year. Spray often, spray well, live life on your terms, guys. Love you. Peace.